It's time to create an invoice. This will be fun. If you want to follow along, open the file called landworks_invoices if it's not already open. To open an invoice form, click Create Invoices on the home page. For this demonstration, I'm going to pretend that this company sells products and ships them to customers. Primarily, this company is a service company, but I want to show how to use the product invoice because it has the most fields. So let's go to the template menu and choose Intuit Product Invoice. We'll start by selecting the customer job, and this is for Victor. You can see that QuickBooks has filled out much of the header form for you based on the customer record. If you turned on class tracking, choose the class from the class menu, and this class applies to all the items on the invoice. If you do use classes, try to use them consistently so that your class reports are accurate. If the class doesn't apply to a particular transaction, you can skip the field, but keep in mind that the transaction won't appear on class reports. But that might be okay. And for this transaction and company, it's okay. So just leave it blank. Check the date in the date field, which is set to the current date, and change it if you need to. If this were the first invoice you've created, type the invoice number you want to use here in the invoice number field. QuickBooks automatically increases the number by 1 in subsequent invoices. If this customer had multiple ship-to addresses, you could choose it here. But there's only one, so we'll leave it at ship-to-1. There isn't a purchase order number for this transaction, so I'm going to skip it. But just a note, when you start working on your own company file, some of the fields may not appear on your invoice form. The fields that do appear depend on some of the preferences you set up, as well as the invoice template you're using. For example, if you indicated in preferences that you don't use purchase orders, the PO number field doesn't appear. QuickBooks takes the terms from the company record, but if you didn't associate terms with the customer, you can choose it here. The rep field is for choosing a sales rep, but this company doesn't use sales rep, so we can leave it blank. For the ship date, click the calendar and enter the date that you're actually shipping the product. From the Via menu, choose the shipping method. I'll skip the FOB field. This company doesn't use it, and I described it in another video. This field only appears on product invoices and packing slips. Okay, now we're ready to enter line items. This customer is a bird lover and wants to buy some bird bath accessories. So first he wants to buy 10 ice eliminators. And here's a trick. Instead of choosing the item from a menu, and if your menu is quite long, this could be handy. You can just start typing the name of the item. So I type B and then I, and there it is. You can see that the price is $40 and the amount is $400. Another video talked about price levels, and this is where you could apply a price level. When I set up this customer, I forgot to associate a price level to use, but I can choose one here. And I'll choose Discount for Locals. And press Tab, and you can see that QuickBooks updates the amount. You could assign a class, but I won't do that, and this indicates that the item is taxable. So let's quickly add a couple more line items, which I need in order to illustrate a couple of things. So 10 fountain lights, and I'll use the price level, and 10 solar bird baths. Now let's add a subtotal. A subtotal item adds all the line items above it, up to a previously entered subtotal, if any. Subtotals are useful for applying a discount to one or more items, but not to all. So let's say I want to discount the first 2 items, but not the third. So I need to insert a blank line. I'll click on the line below where I want to insert the line, or rather right-click, and choose Insert Line. Let's choose the subtotal. I'll just type to make it faster. And you can see that in light gray is the current subtotal. Now I want to talk about discounts. You can change the total amount due on an invoice by giving a discount to the customer. Since Victor is buying so many items, he should get the volume purchase discount. So I'll insert another line and choose the 10% volume purchase discount. So this discount applies to the subtotal. So the subtotal was $450 and 10% is $54. So you might be wondering what the difference is between a price level and a discount. A price level applies to a group of customers, and the price level adjusts the prices for that group. So in this example, I used a price level that I apply to all local customers, but the customers don't see this reduction on the actual invoice. Use a discount item for a one-time reduction, and customers actually do see this price break on the invoice. So for any items you don't want to discount, enter those below the last discount item. If both the item and the customer are taxable, QuickBooks calculates the tax. But we also need to add a shipping item. So let's go down to another line and add shipping. For this, I'll charge $50. And I think we're done with the line item area. Let's go to the footer. You'll see here that QuickBooks has a running total, the tax, the amount of the items, and the total. This field is for online payments, but that requires an extra fee, and you have to sign up for it. You could also type a message for the customer. Let's choose like us on Facebook. Here, you can type a memo for your own use, but keep in mind that if you ever send billing statements, your customer will see this memo. Okay, I think we're ready to save this invoice, but I want to add a word of caution here. In General Preferences, you'll see a preference called Save Transactions Before Printing. It's a good idea to leave this option checked to avoid potential fraud. Someone could create an invoice and print it, but then there would be no record of it in your company file if it wasn't saved. So let's save it. And QuickBooks is warning me that there's a duplicate number here. So let's click Cancel and type a different number, and hopefully this one will work. And QuickBooks is reminding me about classes, but I don't want to track them for this transaction. And this alert saying the customer has available credits, but I'm not going to apply those credits to this invoice now. You'll learn about that in another video.